The guanaco, otherwise known by its scientific name, Llama guanaca, is the most common ungulate and largest artiodactyl, weighing in at 120 kilograms, in South America. The mammal tends to live in cold and arid environments, and its range can allow them to be seen all over the continent, from northwestern Peru down to Tierra del Fuego, which is the southern tip of the land. A majority of the population of guanacos are concentrated in the Andes and in Patagonia. They tend to have an ecological role of controlling vegetation growth and dispersing seeds, which is important to the area. They also tend to be a large presence for the local food webs, as they are the main prey of the puma and are also useful to many scavengers such as the Andean condor. Currently, there are a few human factors that have been threatening the guanaco population, including high competition for food with cattle and introduced mammals, illegal hunting, and the reduction of available habitat due to the intensification of agriculture. The paper conducted an experiment regarding how guanacos would be affected by future climate change. Castillo and others estimated the guanaco species' current geographic distribution using bioclimatic variables and then compared that to predicted future distribution of guanacos following projections of the best and worst climate change scenario at different years, 2050 and 2070. The predictions were made based off of coupled model intercomparison project number 5, representative carbon pathways, otherwise known as RCPs, scenarios 2.6, which is the most optimistic scenario with minimal CO2 emission, but then also RCP 8.5, which is the most pessimistic scenario, otherwise known as business as usual. The comparison between the current species distribution that was formed and future predictions would be quantified to understand the potential area gained, lost, or remaining in the future for guanaco habitats. The project also looked within the species range to see how much would be still within protected areas or if a new amount would be within that protected area. This was completed as accurately as possible by using species occurrence data, climate predictors, niche modeling, and model evaluation. For determining the current guanaco species range, the bioclimatic variables used in the analysis were composed of annual mean temperature, temperature seasonality, annual temperature range, annual precipitation, and precipitation seasonality. The resulting geographic range for guanaco spanned for about a third of the Chilean continental surface. The results showed that while the geographical distribution pattern of guanaco was conserved, quantitative assessment of the distribution surface revealed a downward trend in both scenarios for the climate change in the years 2050 and 2070. By looking at the figure 1 shown on top here in this image, you can see that part A, which represents the current guanaco distribution, has relatively the same areas filled as the other future predictions shown in parts B through E. More detailed data about the habitat type is shown below in Table 1 and matches the data in Figure 1. Smaller decreases of habitat suitability was observed under the RCP 2.6 scenario, which is parts B and C in the figure. Part B shows the decrease at the year 2050, which was just below 260,000 square kilometers, while Part C shows the decrease at the year 2070, which was just below 255,000 square kilometers. The small aerial reduction under both models is only 6% and 7.6% respectively of the current area. However, with RCP 8.5, the results are more dramatic. Part D shows the 2050 decrease of 13%, or more than 240,000 square kilometers, and Part E shows the 2070 decrease of 20.7%, or just below 220,000 square kilometers. When connecting this data to protected areas in South America, it shows that current guanaco populations only overlap with protected areas 9.8% of the time. With future scenarios, the results are shown in the Figure 3, shown right here. The green represents the protected areas, and there is only minimal overlap for all scenarios. In A and B, which is showing RCP 2.6 at the year 2070, overlap with protected areas is only at 6.2%, about a 3.6% decrease. In C and D, or RCP 8.5 again at the year 2070, the results get slightly worse with only 5.7% in protected areas. That's another 0.5% decrease. More generally speaking about the importance and necessity of this research, it is vital to look at species' response to climate change. This way, conservation efforts can be properly adjusted and altered as needed to minimize the harmful impacts on local ecology. Based on the results for this case study, the vulnerability of guanacos to climate change is the confinement to suboptimal quality habitats. In particular, the quantification of areal changes between current and future distribution under the worst-case scenario suggested an average loss of 34% compared to 17% of areal gains. Even the best-case scenario in the future had negative impacts for the guanacos. Guanacos would have to shift eastward between the Arica and Parinacota and the Atacama regions into areas with low habitat suitability. On top of this, there would be a decrease of protected areas by 3% in the suitable habitat range for both scenarios. Obviously, this research comes with some uncertainty, as do all modeling projects. For this project specifically, a lot of uncertainty originates from the general circulation models, aka GCMs, and how animals will actually respond to certain environmental changes. In a broader sense, and within RCP scenarios themselves, and a lot of future climate change sciences, the unknown factor are humans. We currently have the ability to change the outcome of the future, so let's take action and lean the results towards the optimistic best case scenario.